Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Dutawambura. Thank you so much for coming onto this live channel. And yes, I can see 4 of you already who have joined. So thank you so much for joining. And we are going to get started right away, just so that we keep time and we are right on time. And so anyone who is joining much later can definitely just watch back and see what we've been doing over here. So feel free to raise your comment and, send in your comment on the comment box right below here, and also tell someone to join in and listen in as well, so that they can get some benefit from this. So we are going to definitely be answering your questions basically for this master's program. But if you do have any other question for Erasmus, you can definitely go ahead and also ask it, and we will try as much as possible to go ahead and answer. So thank you so much for coming in. Now, my name is Ndutawambura. As you may already know, my role is a country representative for Kenya, and what that entails is about pretty much ensuring that I can get more people to understand what is Erasmus, how they can apply for these programs, and so on and so forth. And so I have been a country representative for now 1 year, and basically, if you are new to this channel and you have never heard about Erasmus, Erasmus is one of the largest scholarship networks across Europe, for which I am a beneficiary of it. I did my Erasmus between 2015 and 2017, and by then I was in a program known as KITE, and since then I have been involved with Erasmus pretty much to ensure that everyone else, Africans can get to know about it. And I am happy to create the Kenyan community. So if you're new and you have not joined the Kenyan community, I will definitely pin a link towards the Facebook group for the Kenyan community, so that you can be able to join and you can be able to get all the highlights that we keep sending right there. So today, it's a great pleasure to actually speak to the program representative of the European Interdisciplinary Master African Studies. And he is here with us already, and his name is Odunola Oladeji. I am so privileged to have him right here with us. And he is going to take us through pretty much whether this program is something for you, whether this is something that you can actually apply for. Do you qualify for it? Do you know of a person who might actually qualify for it, and you can tell them about it? And he is currently a student in the program, which is fully funded once again under the Erasmus program. So please feel free to, again, put in your questions right there on the comment section, and we'll be more than happy to actually answer them. If you do have other questions that are Erasmus related as well, put them on the comments section and we'll definitely get into it. So thank you so much once again for joining us, and keep at it. Tell someone to join us. Tell somebody else who might benefit from this as well. Tell someone from the Kenyan community, from the Nigerian community to be here. And I am so happy to definitely chime in into the conversation as well in my own capacity as a country representative. So thank you so much. So without further ado, I'm going to join in Odunola, and Odunola is going to take us through the next section of this program. And so just let me add him right here. So thank you so much, Odunola, for joining us. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and chiming into this great conversation. So tell us, who are you? What's your name? Where are you from? What are you doing? Where are you currently? Where have you been before? And all these kind of good jazz. Yes.
All right, Sawa, my sister. My name is, okay, maybe I should just say Jinalangu Odunola. All right, so I'm manufactured from the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I'm presently marketed in Europe. Well, I said Europe because I've been to 3 different countries in the course of my study. All right, so in my second year for the European Interdisciplinary Master African Studies, popularly known as IMAS. And then presently, I serve in the capacity as the program representative of the program. And then that's why I'm here, so as an ambassador of IMAS. Right, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much. You have been in 3 countries already. Like, what was your first country?
Yeah, okay. So previously, I mean, my first point of destination was in Portugal, specifically in Porto. Porto is north of Portugal, and then I found myself in eastern Germany, that's in Bayreuth, and then presently I'm in Bordeaux, France, for my third semester.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. That is so, so good to hear. And thank you so much once again for telling us. So, how was your experience? Can you also already let us know, how did you get to actually apply for this program when you are back in Nigeria? What led you to actually apply for it? And what was the thing that made you say that this is the specific program that I want to have and go and study?
All right, thank you very much. I think I will start by saying that I the first motivation, of course, I'm privileged to be part of the first cohort. So my program came up that last year. I mean, the we started last year, and then I was part of the first applicants. I mean, for the first cohort, and then I have a bachelor's in agricultural economics, which is more of also social science related, or let me say, just say humanity. But specifically, my interest in African studies was because I was so much interested in development. And for me, I mean, African development also proud to me, which also position me in such a point that I don't just assume that I want to be interested in development in Africa. I need to understand what Africa is. Africa can be, such a very huge topic or concept that it feels like, okay, from Cairo to Cape, it's just one lateral line. But of course, apparently, we have different spheres, we have different stratas, we have differences, dynamics, and uniqueness. So that was one of that very strong motivation for me to apply to IMAS. And then, sincerely, my experience so far, it's been amazing. I mean, incredibly amazing. First of all, from the dynamics of what's it called? My colleagues were from all over the part of the world. To say, I mean, it's not an overstatement, so to speak. I have colleagues from Madagascar. I have colleagues from Kenya. I have from what's it called, the Philippines. I have from Europe. I have from Slovakia. I have from Italy. I have from Greece. I have some from Lesotho. I have from Ghana. So I have from Malawi. So you can imagine such a dynamics of people sharing their experiences together and then also trying to exchange and also shared identities and beliefs amidst ourselves, both outside the class and even during the course of the program. So that was particularly very interesting for me. And then I was also not shocked about what I was expecting coming in. It's okay. What do they want to teach me about Africa? I want to know, but really sincerely it's been enlightening so far. That's just what I will have to say because of our time.
Oh, perfect. So, which means that, can you tell us more? What is this program exactly? We know that, on the face value is European Masters in Interdisciplinary African Studies, and it is being carried out in Europe and not in Africa. So, can you tell us more? What is the basis of this program?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe I should start from your last point of emphasis. Every day I heard people ask me, why will you study Africa outside the shores of Africa? It's a very serious question that some of my colleagues also have to grapple with. But the reality on ground is that identity is different from knowledge. The fact that I'm an African does not mean that I have the full knowledge of Africa. That's just the truth about it. And then to be very sincere about ourselves, if the place or if the where is as important, then the words should be as a point at equally. For me, the methodology has not changed. So if you are saying that we can't study Africa outside of the boundaries of Africa, it means that Africa also have an epistemology of its own. Africa has a methodology of its own and a theory of its own that we can say, oh, this is so why are you going outside this and leaving this? The same methodology that I know, I graduated from the University of Ibadan in Nigeria, right? And then the modern pattern was also after the normal colonial, British kind of a thing. Yeah, so the system never changes. It's still, unless, of course, I know that there are scholars that are coming up with epistemologies of Africa that will differentiate things. But sincerely, if you look at it, whether in Nigeria or whether in Europe, the dynamics about it is that the methodologies might be the same. Everybody uses the same methodology. Everybody uses. Apart from that, I would really like to also establish very well that it's always an assumption to feel that okay, you should not study it outside. I've met fantastic what's it called lecturers. Let me even start from that point. I have a lecturer that taught me global trends in Africa. I mean, it does not come with book. It does not come with book to class. It will be telling you history of Africa, everything as it evolves, right from 1400. I mean, it will be pointing it out from north to south. It will tell you. It told me how everything, the economics, politics, and dynamics that happened in Nigeria from like 1950. It will be telling you off right. Then from there it goes to Egypt. From Egypt it goes to South Africa. So you don't just assume that the fact that it's outside Africa, it makes it, corrupt or different. And one thing about AMAS is that, first of all, let me also say that you can check AMAS website, www.himas.eu. When you check it, you see that in the introductory part, it says something. It says, we also embrace alternative narrative. So what they are trying to say is that okay, it's not that we have a preconceived notion about this. The alternative narrative, in the sense that students can come and challenge the status quo. I mean, I told you I have most of my colleagues, like almost nine. That's 9 over 13. I don't know the percentage now. Are Africans. So we come, we say this is this, okay, this is too generalistic. No, this is too, you've oversimplified Africa. You can't say Africa. I mean, we challenge the status quo anytime, and there is space for that. It's not that, okay, you challenge the status quo and you come and your grade, is affected because you challenge the status quo. So the opportunities the opportunities are there, number one. Number two is that the knowledge is there. We have fantastic library collections, repositories with Africa. I mean, studies about Africa. I mean, it's so rich. And then I have, for instance, in Bayreuth, there is a museum in Bayreuth that is also very affiliated with University of Bayreuth, especially for African studies. They call it Ivaleva House. Ivaleva House is a Yoruba coinage of character. Iwalewa in Yorubas. When Yorubas hear Iwalewa, Yorubas are southwest ethnic group in Nigeria. When they hear Iwalewa, they understand what it means, that okay, what's it called, attitude is character or something like that. Do you get? So we have stuff like that have I mean, they were boasting that they have a collection. I mean, first of all, with a collection of Nollywood's collection. I was shocked. I mean, I come from Nigeria and you are telling me that you have the highest collection. How? It's amazing. And then, to cap it all, we have lecturers that even had experiences in Africa, that had research experiences, spanning more than 10 years. We have some of them that did their PhDs in Africa. We have bilateral cooperations with African universities, and so some of these things are some of the uniqueness and dynamics that adds to HIMARS, that makes it that very course that you should be sure that the credibility is secured when you want to study African studies. All right, I think I answered that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And for sure, for somebody who might be thinking, now look, like you say, you have, I would have imagined that you have an undergraduate in African studies, which is actually not the case. So, which brings me to the next very good question, because every single time I'm online, everyone is asking, so can I apply for this program? Do I qualify for it? I mean, what are the stipulations? What is the requirements and all that kind of thing? So can you tell us, this program is good for someone who has which undergraduate, or can you have any undergraduate degree and you can apply for the program, or what exactly is at stake here?
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. Let me just answer briefly that just like every other ENGMD is Erasmus Mundus joint master's degree. Majority of them, I mean, the vast majority are interdisciplinary courses. So what it means is that it's not just about, okay, I study agricultural economics, so this is the master's of agricultural economics. No, this is like it's like what's it called? An evolving dimensions to research that involves complementary disciplines. So you have disciplines around each other. So that's why when you are solving the Erasmus Mundus catalog, program catalog, always ensure that you find out what and what disciplines it is. For EMAS in this case, EMAS has to do, if you check the website like I've mentioned, EMAS has to do most around social sciences and humanities. And then I will be, what's it called? I would like to also point at this point is that EMAS is the first EMGMD, that's Erasmus Muslim Just Master's degree in African Studies. All right, so we have social sciences and humanities, and this ranges from religion, cultural studies, development studies, social anthropology, anthropology. Essentially, the EMAS program was structured on three cardinals. Number one is identity. Number two is sustainability. Then number three is territory. So if you check from the three things, identity, territory, and sustainability, maybe when I'm talking about the what's it called, the consortiums, then I can explain some of these things and so that you can know what's fitting and who can apply. As an agricultural economic student, I'm actually not far from what's it called, African studies in the sense of the disciplines that are required to participate. And if you see the last option in the eligibility list that is on the website, you see something like a convincing application from other discipline is welcome. So someone might be willing to do a change of what's it called, direction in terms of discipline. So it's just about your interest. What do you do? So I think everything is linked. So when I'm also talking about the application requirement and other things, some of these things will come up, and you see the reason why anybody can apply in as much as you are within the ambit of social sciences and humanities.
Perfect. So that means that it's quite wide range. So whether you're coming from whichever the African country, whether that's Kenya or in Nigeria, Ghana, anywhere from the north to the south of Africa, really. So it does not matter as long as your line is social sciences and you're interested in things to do with African studies, then this program is definitely something that you should look into, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so that actually answers quite a huge question that I have had over the past years. And of course, I know that you are among the first cohort. And so, can you tell us how long is this program going to run? Like the funding is between 2020, this was 2019 when you guys came in, is it?
So it's 2020.
Okay, yeah, 2020, I'm sorry. So,
yeah.
okay, so it's going to run until when? Between 2020 and which year?
Yeah, hopefully, of course, for the present, for the current funding, it's meant to run, I think, 5 years. I'm aware, five
Okay.
cohorts, either
Okay.
five or four cohorts. I can't lay specific emphasis on the number, but it's between 4 and 5. And then there's also possibility of extension, which I believe it will extend beyond that. But for now, we have 4, 5.
Okay, so which means that already two cohorts are down. So which means that
Yeah,
anyone who is interested in this needs to either apply for it this year, next year, or 2023, right?
exactly, exactly.
So they have three shots, which is actually a very good thing to know, because I keep telling people, like, if you don't get it the first time, please try again. You have nothing to lose. I personally did not get my Erasmus scholarship the first time. Actually, I had to apply for the second time, and it's when I actually got it. So I always keep telling people, please apply again and again and again until you actually get it. So that's a very good point to note. And I also want to know, what is the structure of the course curriculum that you guys study? I mean, like, I would imagine that maybe you're studying, different countries, different African nations, and that kind of thing. Or what is the course curriculum like? What are the experiences that you have had? Have you gone for conferences? Have you met maybe people you've talked about that your class is quite intercultural? I mean, have you met people even from other continents who are actually in the program? Or, what is the experience like in terms of the curriculum? What does one have to expect when they apply for this, and all that kind of thing? So, can you tell us more?
All right, thank you very much. Maybe I will start with this anecdote. My first, maybe second or third class in my first semester in Porto, in Portugal, my lecturer asked us to describe our country, the demographics and geography, or whatever you think you can, what's it called, say about your country. All right, so I did a LinkedIn post. Then I was making this simple anecdote. I said something about Lesotho, Ghana. I said, now when you're talking about multilingual country, now the Greek will say, oh, we only have Greek. The Slovakian will say, oh, it's Slovak, and then the Italian will say, oh, it's just Italian. And I said that they won't understand when I tell them that in Nigeria we have over 500 languages and counting.
I did
So
know that as well. You have over 500 languages in Nigeria.
yeah, and more than one and more than 1,000 dialects. So
Okay.
you could imagine presenting such inside the class. So they feel like, okay, so the Nigeria that I used to hear is not just, you can't just say, okay, Nigeria. So there are a lot of things to this. So I was also gisting, I was saying something about Ghana. I said, do you know that the population of Ghana is within 28 million, 28, 30 million, thereabout? And if I tell you that the population of Ghana is almost equally, at par with the population of just Lagos State, you'll be wondering. Right now, we are still counting like over 200 million in Nigeria. And I was relating that to Lesotho. Lesotho is, I said Lesotho will not understand when I'm talking about population in Nigeria. The same way Portugal will not understand, because Portugal is around 10 million, if I can, imagine. Germany is around 88 million. France is around 60 what? Maybe 66 million. So imagine 66 plus 88 plus 10. I mean, they've not yet reached the whole population of Nigeria. So
That
you
is
mean
very,
that if
very
yeah,
shocking. Yes.
yeah, imagine. So yeah, so those are the kind of things that those are the kind of enlightenment and revelation we're also getting in the class. To know that, okay, you can't just say Africa, you can't just say Nigeria. And we are always very, very careful about it when we are doing analysis and exegesis of topical issues and discourse about Africa. You don't. That's why if you have been, if you come into a mass, the first baptism is to understand that you don't generalize. We say something, you don't oversimplify. I mean, Eddie, one of my colleagues, used to use the word, concurrently. You don't oversimplify this, kind of a thing. So we have a diverse topic that captures is not essentially about, okay, what is Africa at large. In the first semester, the goal is to expose students to the interdisciplinary nature of IMAS. And here, what are we doing? We are doing more of research methods and development courses and intercultural communications. So, I mean, development education, development cooperation, and then, bring out the nuances and paradigms in all these topical issues and also discuss it. And one thing about a mass is also to know that when you're coming to a mass, you're not coming for a lecturer to come and teach you, so to speak. You're coming to a dialogue, you're coming to a debate. I mean, most of the time, that's what we encourage. It's always debate, arguments. Of course, in academics, when you say argument, it's not that we are throwing blows or something around. It's just that we are telling you that okay, this is a place that is open. The liberty is there to express and to defend whatever stance, and to also say no, this is wrong, and then you base it on factual what's it called standpoint. So that's it's what another dimension of MS that I feel we need to know. So when you come to the second semester in bio, right, it's around more of cultural and development studies, and then you have courses like religion in and from Africa, where we discuss, you know, are religion actually from are religion actually exported or imported, imported into Africa country, and you have different debates about it. And we start talking about Ethiopia, that Christianity has been in Ethiopia since, so we can literally say this. And we also talked about the evolution of religions. That's a topic. We do something on democracy, you know democratic development in Africa or sub-Saharan Africa. Of course, sub-Saharan Africa. Why? Because if you check sub-Saharan Africa, quite a number of countries are practicing democracy, and we want to see what are the pros and cons. What is Africa getting right, and then we bring it country by country analysis. So beyond that, we still have some other courses like geography of environment and development, where we also and do critical discourse like migration and the likes. So this offers a dynamic part of things that at the end of the day, you are not looking at Africa from a single perspective. You are bringing different things, different situations, and contemporary issues that is happening in Africa. Then, lastly, in the third semester in France, you are dealing more with more of practical approach, critical analytical skills, where you talk about urban geography. You want to know, okay, what is happening in the urban region? How is urbanization, or how are people coming in spatial geography in Africa? And then you do something like project management. Those are practical things that skills that you can develop. And also, like I mentioned earlier, it is in the third, what's it called? It was in the third consortium that I found my place as an agricultural economist. Here we have tropical agriculture and sustainable development. We have project management. Those are courses I also did while I was in school. So you see that now that the only difference is that now understand when you graduate with a particular degree, I might not be able to say this is the degree you graduated with, but ensure that you check the curriculum on the website, everything is there, and see where you place in. And that's where you can strengthen your motivation to say, oh, I'm interested in this and this. Why? Because I did this and this gave me an understanding of these fundamentals. And then from there, I can do this and this. I hope anybody that is listening to this will understand. So don't just say, oh, you're applying to a mass. Bring your specific part. Political science is there in the second semester. Geography, environmental courses are there in third semester. But anybody that did development studies, cultural communication, and some other things can also lay hold of first semester and second semester as a bridge. For people that did fine art, what's it called, dance and whatever thing, classical art, I don't know all those things. So you can find your space, you can see which of the consortium is offering what you are specialized in, and then you can rightly channel your motivation in that direction. I hope that's sufficient advice.
Yes, absolutely. That is actually a really good point that you made, because usually sometimes when someone is on the catalog for any Erasmus program, really, and they get a bit confused because you can be thrown off when you go to the catalog, you read all these courses. Yet, like I keep saying, please, it's always very important to check the fine print, the eligibility criteria, whether you actually fit into the course. The topic might look as if it's ambiguous, just like AMAS might look ambiguous to some people, and they might just dismiss it just because it's African studies. They think that it's not something that they fit in, yet there's quite a lot that you could maybe fit in if you read their eligibility criteria and the requirements thereof. So, like you mentioned, your mobility is quite diverse, from the University of Porto to all the way to Germany, and now you're in France. And I know that you guys have a sort of an internship that you would definitely be doing in an African country. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is something that is also exciting to see. And the reason why I'm so excited to even speak to you is because you are among the first cohort that happened. So this is happening to you very fresh, and for another student who might apply for it, can learn a lot from you guys, and can learn a lot from the processes that you have been going through, and the type of mobility you actually chose, from Porto to Germany, to France, and then, of course, to another African country. And can you already just speak about this mobility? Can someone choose a different mobility, or all of you have to begin in Porto, then to Germany, France, and so on? So, is it a bit flexible, or is it set on stone?
No, it's not flexible. It's statutory. The program only consists of three consortiums. I know there are programs, there are other programs like that have like six consortiums. So you have something like track A, track B. So you can decide to go on any direction. But here in Helmars, it's just three, and the three already are designed to be from Porto to Bayreuth, then from Bayreuth to Bordeaux. So first semester in Porto, the second semester in Bayreuth, then the third semester in Bordeaux. However, the between the third semester and the fourth semester, it's like you are obliged, not necessarily mandatory, but they strongly recommend that you have your internship in Africa. So likewise, right now I have colleagues from all over. I have colleagues from the Philippines, European colleagues. All of them are already planning how they're going to go to African country for maybe research or internship or field work that coming year. All right. So after that, then you now come back for the fourth semester. In the fourth sem, you basically choose out of the three consortiums to do your thesis, which most of the time the fourth semester is just about thesis. So thesis writing, so you decide, of course, number one, depending on where your supervisor is. And of course, those are the things you should consider, and also depending on you. So you can decide to stay in Portugal, you can decide to stay in Germany, and you can decide to stay in France. So that's the flexibility. Statutory, there is no other thing.
That is actually a very good thing for you guys, especially because you create a sort of relationship with the students that you began with in Porto. You move together to Germany, you move together again to France, and then maybe perhaps even move together to the same African country, depending on what someone chooses, of course, in this case. And then you come back and finish all together. And that is how the Erasmus community and the Erasmus spirit actually is, because it's a cultural way of meeting people from different, walks of the world. You interact, you form very good connections, and out of these connections, you can do even great projects, even in the future. And you've had all these experiences. You've learned new languages. You've learned Portuguese, German, French, if at all. If not, maybe on the surface, or depending, but at least you have this type of exposure such that eventually, even if you are to choose to go back to an African country and maybe work in a Lusophone country, like a Portuguese speaking country, maybe Mozambique, Angola, Guinea Bissau, or wherever, you understand it more better. In case you went to a francophone country, once again, this would be a really, really good exposure for you. So this is actually something that I always say: the Erasmus culture exposes you into different intercultural aspects that will definitely work towards your career even in the future. And I know that, perhaps, I don't know about your future plans, whether you want to stay in Europe or you want to go back to Africa and work in Africa or whatever it is. But I know, like, for a fact that this exposure already has been quite a good one for you, right?
Yeah, definitely. To just retreat on what you mentioned earlier, it's also very strongly recommended that you participate in the language courses. I don't think it's all the most programs don't make it mandatory, or you just decide on whether to take the language courses or not. But here in IMAS, it is structured into it, and then you can see the dynamics: German, Portuguese, and French. So the essence is such that at the end of the day, at least you have a grounded knowledge in the three. So you do a full course of language because a lot of us in Portugal we did Portuguese, and then we were graded, of course, and we also had some what's it called, some practicals and some also speaking engagements. And the essence is also so that you can also adapt into the system. Some of us at least could speak a little bit of Portuguese now, at least on the surface, and then just a little more learning can make you a masterpiece in it. But in everywhere you go, you learn the language so that you can know how to speak. And also, part of it is also that when you decide to, whatever you decide to work, Africa is basically Lusophone, Francophone, and Anglophone countries. I mean, the sub-Saharan part. Of course, when you go up north in Egypt, you can still, if you have the knowledge of any of the three, English or French, you should still be able to communicate with people there. So it's very important that we also get to know the language, and we're doing it, of course. And then it's very interesting to also know that at the end of the day, because language skill is very, very important. That's why I also encourage that anybody that is planning to, maybe not even IMAS, if you're planning to apply for any course, whatever, any Erasmus Mundus program, try to start learning the language of those, because it can also be an additional factor for you. That's just the truth about it. Yeah.
Yes, and I know that we are already 36 minutes into this live session, and I can see quite a number of comments. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And of course, someone says there it's a thoroughly mind-provoking class. Wow, thank you so much. And I can see already some questions right there. But before we can section into these questions, I would want to ask you one last section of the funding. So we've talked about whether this master's is for you. We've talked about the course curriculum, and of course this works towards the tips while you are applying. So I want to ask you. So tell us more about funding. What is included? How much do you get as a stipend? Do you get insurance? All these kind of things. Can you tell us more?
All right, thank you very much. Of course, if you look at it for all the EMGMDs, I've established this earlier. It's the same pattern, and it does not change. I mean, for all Erasmus Mundus programs. So first of all, your monthly stipend is 1,000, and then if you also check the website, like I mentioned earlier, you see it at www.imas.eu. So when you check it, you also see everything has been detailed there. Then, depending on where you are traveling from, you are also entitled to a traveling allowance. I mean, twice. That's for you're coming in to your first mobility, then from your last mobility to your home country. Of course, it's not like Chile or whatever to say that, oh, you must there is not that mandatory must return. If you have other things to do, there is no clause for must. So, however, there is a provision for a traveling allowance twice, and then that will be dependent on the distance of your current place of residence to the first mobility. And if you check it, there are ranges. There is less than 1,000 miles, less than 2,000 miles. So you can check it depending on the 1,000 miles. That's what you will be getting. And also, once you get in, you are entitled to a settling cost. The essence for this is so that when you come in, they want you to settle down. So there is a particular amount that is fixed for that. So you get that only once, meaning that when you get to the country that you are, they expect that, okay, you might not have a number of things. So they get that so that you, at least to make you settle down to learn. And then for what's it called? The insurance is covered by the program. Of course, you're not paying for insurance. So I think I've answered that. But for anybody that still needs the details on the specific amounts, I mean, you can check the website out. Maybe that would be the reason why you should check the website out.
Yes, and like I always want to clarify this because I want to say, of course, the Erasmus Masters in Interdisciplinary African Studies. I'm sorry, I mixed that up. I'm sorry. So
It's
AMAS
okay.
let me just say it in the short form, AMAS is free to apply, because there are some of the programs that you will find on the catalog that might ask for an application fee. There are few of them actually, but I just want to clarify that AMAS is free to apply in the first place. And also, I just want to ask you one question, whether the consortium actually pays for your flight first, or you take care of it and then you get the refund, because this is also another question that has been coming up very often nowadays, because people want to get ready and get to know exactly what to expect and that kind of thing. So did you have to pay your flight first and then you get a reimbursement, or the consortium paid that for you?
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Yeah, but to first retreat on the point of the application, AMAS is totally free. You're not paying for an application fee, just apply. And then maybe this is the right time to also state that the application opens first of every November and ends February, no, January 31st. So you have between next month, November, December, January, that is 3 months to apply. That's for those who are applying for the scholarship. But there's also provision for those who wants to get into self-funding. If you are willing to fund it yourself, I think the application is open between February and April. So you can also check the application window. It's also on the website. All right. So back to the main thing. AMAS is very magnanimous, generous, and then how do I want to put it? Considerate. Now, why am I saying that? Of course, not all programs also pay you before you leave. Of course, AMAS is also not paying you before you leave. But there is one thing, after everything has been confirmed, and then you are assured a scholarship and it's already there, you have all your letters and you have all your communications with the program coordinator. And then the only thing that you just need to do is to, after applying for your visas, AMAS is okay. The only thing AMAS can do is maybe in case you have any issue with visa application, they can come in and step in and say, "Oh, these are our students. We verified it, and this is all the documents with the EU." So aside that, you take care of your visa. So once you have your visa and you know the date you travel, the only thing you just have to do is to communicate with the program coordinator, and then there is a traveling agency that the AMAS is partnering with. And what do you do? They are not giving you, you decide with the traveling agency that this is, and that is what you want to book. They will give you all the options that are available. Then you decide. Once you decide, AMAS do that on your behalf for the payment, then you get the ticket, then you can travel. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, this is part of the allowance that is meant to be part of your traveling allowance. So what they must do at the end of the day is to just remove the amount you used to book your ticket, and then you'll be reimbursed the remaining. So it's so simple.
Yeah, that's very good to know as well. Thank you so much for answering that, because we've had some students complaining about it, and I just wanted to clarify that, especially for this program. And I mean, this is a very good time for anyone who is listening. This is a very fantastic time for you to begin, preparing to apply once the program actually opens on the 1st of November, because this is a chance for you to go on the website, take your time to read all the requirements that we've been talking about here. Take your time to reach out to even someone who can even read your personal statement, and get to know, ask all the questions, ask all the right questions to the right people, because sometimes you might be asking the right question to the wrong people who might not even give you the answers. This is the right time if you want to, maybe send an email to the consortium itself. This is perfect time for them to be able to analyze your question, answer it promptly, and all that kind of thing. And that's the reason why I really wanted to do this just a little ahead of time, so that you can be able to prepare for it. And begin your application as soon as 1st of November, such that you're not rushing in after Christmas and you're like, oh my God, I have to finish my application, and you're too late already, because this happens a lot. to a lot of students. So I want to go into the comment section really quick here because we do have quite a number of questions. And as I give you a short break to maybe take some water, I just want to go ahead and check the comments. So Mulela, happy to be here joining with my channel. My name is Emma. Thank you so much for joining, Emma. Al Mujib, thank you so much for joining from the University of Lagos. So the question that is here is, how many scholars are awarded the scholarship in a cohort? I do believe that this is something that is to the discretion of the consortium, but again, of course, you can maybe speak into that. How many scholars are awarded the scholarship in a cohort?
It's varies. It's varies, yeah. But I think there is a general quota for all the scholars that are to be awarded within that span. If you check the websites, like I mentioned, I can't remember the exact figure, but something around 40 something or 50 something altogether. I can't remember. So what that means is that you have, for instance, in my cohort, we are 13, and then just I guess 12, yeah, 12 of us what's it called, scholarship student, and only one person was self-funded. Of course, we are meant to be more than that, but there are two other people that declined it, that could not join us, maybe for one reason or the other. But the current second cohort, they are 16, if I can remember. I mean, yeah, they are 16. I mean, that's awarded scholarship. And so the same will happen. So when you check the website and you see the number, just subtract the first 12 and then the 16 from it. You see that you have the remaining of people that needs to be awarded the scholarship. So, but of course, relatively, just say between 15, between 13, 15, 16, an average, then you get to see how many people are awarded per
Right.
cohort.
And that is a very important thing to know, because then it takes me back to my point whereby, it really is important for you to put your best foot forward on your personal statement, because you need to tell the consortium why you are, one of the best candidates to come into this program, and why they should fund you for the 2 years. And so remember, a personal statement, I keep talking about personal statements, but a personal statement is a statement that, you're introducing yourself on a piece of paper to somebody who's never met you, and somebody who is, holding the money, for the 2 years for you. And you need to tell them why you introduce yourself. What have you been doing? Do not use flowery language, really. If they say that you need 500 words for the personal statement, it's not 700, it's not 1000, it's exactly 500 words. So keep it short. Keep ensure that you're stipulating the main points, the reason as to why you are the best candidate. And of course, this has to be in line and congruent to the eligibility criteria, eligibility requirements. And so for you to stand at a greater stake, it's always important also to have your personal statement, and also someone to check your application process, just in case you're stuck somewhere. Ask the questions. Please do not feel as if you're asking too many questions if you're really interested in applying for it, really, because this is what is going to help you. And if you don't get it the first time, then you can be able to use that experience that you had the first time for the second chance to apply for it. Remember, you have three chances. Like Odunola mentioned here, you have three chances, and there's an option for this program, of course, to be renewed once again after the five cohorts are done. So again, it's always very important to just read, ask questions. I cannot say that enough. I cannot overemphasize on that, really. So I will go to the next question. Is it possible to repeat the website? Okay, of course, I sent over the website for AMAS right there. Oh, this is a very good question. How is the interview like? Did you have an interview in the first place? And what questions should someone prepare for? That's a very good question.
Okay, no, Great question. Maybe I should first of all also mention something about some of the eligibility requirements. I guess we didn't say something about it. And then I will now go to the interview because part of the assessment is partly your application, written application, then secondly, the interview. However, she has mentioned something about the what's it called, the motivation letter, which is also part of the application. And then I also want to stress here that AMAS requires English certification. I mean, English certification. However, if your bachelor's was taught in English, then you are exempted. So it's also very important. There are some programs that still demands that you do TOEFL or what's it called, IELTS. But no, if your bachelor's has been taught in English, you're exempted. The only thing is just to present an evidence. So at times you call it test of English proficiency. You can get that from your university and know that. So you don't necessarily have to write what's it called IELTS or TOEFL again. I know how expensive that could be, so that is that about that. And then you can check all other requirements that there. There's just very simple things that you need. But if you still have any question, there is a Facebook page for EMAS, European Interdisciplinary Masters African Studies. You can follow that, send your queries, send your questions to it. Then you always have answers to them. Now to the interview. Right. So I mentioned earlier that we have two stages. The first is the written application, and the second one is the interview. The written application consists of like 60% of the whole assessment, while the interview constitutes like just 40% of the whole assessment. Of course, if you claim to know English, this is where it will be tested. I mean, you sit with the deans and talk to them. Now, essentially, it is nothing big. They just want to know you. You've written applications to them, they've read it, and then they just want to meet you and know whether you are what you wrote. There's a way you can write something that is absolutely away from you. So by the time they speak with you, they can know that they can be able to marry what you wrote with who you are on the screen. So it's just about your application, your interest. Why do you want to apply? Why should you be be given this scholarship? Those are the basic things that you need to know. And what are your plans? If you say you want to apply for MS, what are the plans you have with it? What do you want to come and do? In case you also have maybe a thesis or whatever things that you have that you could be planning, or you have, or you're aspiring to work on, then it's another. But what I'm just trying to say generally is that it's not something different from your application. They just want to meet you and know you and talk to you and discuss, and that's just it. So when you're approaching the interview, don't approach it as though you want to get a job in UN or in WHO. So just approach it in the sense that, okay, this is an interview to just also interact. Anything you don't know, before the interview is not what you know in the interview. So it's not anything big. That's what I can say.
Okay, and so I mean, of course, how many words usually is a personal statement? Is it 500 or more?
Apparently, there is no stipulated standard for events, but I would frankly, what's it called, advise that you keep it short and simple. This is why I'm saying that you can imagine someone reviewing over 500 applications, and you are taking 3 pages SOP of statements of personal statements to the person, So maybe God help you, you still didn't write the best thing in front, and you remain the best thing for the latter part. When the person starts reading page one, by the time the person exhausts that, then you just want to skip and go to another page. So I would just advise that you keep it simple and short. A page, 1.5 page, it should be maximum 2 pages. But still, I'm still telling you that 2 pages is too much. Just 1 page, 1.5 page, just make it short and concise, straight to the point, and be explicit in what you want to do. I mean, she has mentioned some of the things that you need to put in there. So that's that.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So it's a basic statement that you introduce yourself, let them know the reason as to why. Have a catchy phrase as you introduce yourself, obviously, and then stipulate what you have been doing. The experiences that you have had, which are relevant to the program, and this, of course, applies even to other Erasmus programs. Stipulate the reason as to why you think that those experiences actually put you at a stake to study a master's in Europe and nowhere else, really, because you can easily go to another university and study your master's. And again, of course, stipulating your education background, and why that puts you also again at a stake of being the best candidate for this scholarship, and then tie in into that conversation. I mean, it's pretty much like 4 paragraphs, and you have to be straight to the point. The same goes for a CV, because they usually obviously ask for a Europass format. So don't go for any other format. Go for the Europass format. This is something that happens across Europe. It's not something that, if you're applying for any other scholarship, even across any European university, the CV format is going to be obviously the same. It's the Europass format, and you can go online already and start preparing for that as soon as now, so that when you begin your application, you're not hurrying up into going into that Europass, website and checking things and wondering what's going on here, etc. So use this time to prepare. Use this time to ensure that you are asking the questions, to ensure that you have someone reading your personal statement, your CV, etc., etc. So that's a very good point that you made. And now I want to go back to the comments, because we will be closing this session within the next maybe 20 minutes. So if you do have any questions, please, this is the time to send them, because it will not take so much time. And of course, if you are rewatching this after we've done this live section, please feel free to reach out to any one of the Erasmus pages as well, any one of the Erasmus Nigeria or Erasmus Kenyan chapter, or even the AMAS page on Facebook. We'll definitely leave those on the comment section, so you can just click and go to those any one of those pages and ask anything that was not clarified on this session. And so we will go into the next question here. It's I already have a master's degree in Yoruba language, but it was self-funded. I hope that I can still apply. I do think that they can apply, correct?
Yes, of course. I mean, there is no restriction for anybody, not even age. So if you feel that you are convinced, you know exactly why you want to study, what's it called, another master's degree in what's it called, African studies, then you can bring forth your defense. So it all boils down on what is motivating you to. So if you can convince them, the selection committee, then I don't think you you don't have any reason to apply. So please apply.
Yes, definitely. And let's see, any other question? I have a degree in development studies. I do believe that that is also included within the requirements. So I think
Yeah,
Mulela
very
can
important.
apply, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
you can.
perfect. Is the settling cost for every time you move to a different country, or is it just a one-time thing? That's a very good question.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that it's only once, so you're paid for that once. They expect that afterwards you should be able to find your way. I mean, after 4 or 5 months in one mobility, you have all the assistance and support to settle down in another. Then, but if you feel like you still need it, then once they pay you, in case you become a beneficiary, once they pay you, divide it into three, and then so you keep it somewhere. When you get there, you also do it. Of course, I know generally across Erasmus Mundus, it's like about 1,000 euros, and it's not a very small money, so to speak, for settling cost. So just find a way to manage that, but it's just once.
Absolutely, and I keep saying also as well that these different European countries have different living costs. So like Porto was definitely cheaper than Germany, I would imagine. And of course, maybe in France, being that you're in a smaller city, not in Paris, it's obviously maybe a little more cheaper as well. So it depends on the city that you go into, and be very smart with the money that you get, because as much as you would want to live an extravagant life or whatever life you want to actually have when you're here in Europe, it's also very good to make smart decisions. And the money that you get from Erasmus is actually usually enough. And for in some cases, of course, some cities might be too expensive even for the housing. However, with Erasmus, is usually what we call house sharing. So which means that whichever the city you go into, you can share a house, maybe even with your schoolmates who are doing the same program, which means that this lowers the costs, obviously, and you are able to even live with people that for of course for your mental wellness and all these kind of things. So there's also that fact, and depending on the consortium for every other program, they will definitely stipulate which how much they will give you for maybe traveling allowance or research money or settling money. The stipend is usually the same. It's €1,000 across the board, but depending on the consortium and the different countries that you're going and the structure of the program that you're actually going to study, they will tell you for sure, because you're going to sign a contract. Once you begin your Erasmus, you will sign an agreement between you and Erasmus, and you cannot breach that contract by maybe even going to like maybe do your side jobs. Maybe you go to a different European country and you want to work on the side while you're studying. Sometimes that is not allowed, especially if your work is coming within the time that you ought to be in class or you ought to be doing Erasmus work. So that might not be allowed. As much as Erasmus is quite liberal, you need not to breach the contract, because once you sign that contract, it's an agreement between Erasmus itself and yourself that you've agreed to take up this program across the board for 2 years, and they're going to engage you within those 2 years, and you need to participate in all those 2 years. I remember during my Erasmus, we really had to sign a paper every single day that we showed up to class, or we showed up for a conference, or we showed up for whatever the activity of the day, and that actually counted towards our final marks. So that is something that you also need to put in mind as much as you're coming to Europe. Finally, you're leaving Nigeria or Kenya or whichever the African country, and you're coming to Europe. You have, it's a good opportunity, but you also have a very big mandate to honor that contract. So all these things will be stipulated for you. So I want to go again into the comment section here. Just to ask, does submitting your application early contribute to your chances of getting the scholarship? Not necessarily, as long as you actually submit within the deadlines given. That is what is the most important thing. What we don't want you to have is to be rushing the last minute, and you're putting a substandard application, because that is a thing that is very rampant, especially in African countries and even in Kenya. Like, people just submit applications just because. Or somebody is applying, you're applying for a scholarship, but the application you put up is like it's for a job. It's like you're applying for WHO or the UN or something else, and it does not suffice. Of course, no one is going to want to read that application, really. So there's also that part. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Nairobi. Now, okay, so let's see. Considering that there would be a deficiency in the number of people awarded the scholarship, does it mean that everyone that applies automatically gets the scholarship? Sorry, I'm asking too many questions. No, you're not asking too many questions. You are in the right place. So I don't know whether you got that question, Odunola. They are
Yeah,
asking,
yes.
yeah, can you answer that?
Yeah, like so I just updated my information bank now. I found out that it is 58 scholarship, 58. All right, in those phases. One. Then number two is that you cannot imagine the amount of scholarship applications that AIMAs receive every year. I mean, during our time, it was a very huge number that I might not be able to disclose. The reason is not because it is so clandestine, I mean, secret, no. But the idea is so that you don't feel like, oh, because this number of people are applying, then I will not apply. No, you don't know. It might be your turn. Then the current set that just came in recently, I mean, the application tripled. Yeah, tripled. But yeah, if I can still, remember my figures well, it tripled. And then we're also hoping that this next coming application, it will be some numbers too. And that's Erasmus for you. It's so competitive. However, it does not, you don't know the capacity of the other persons that are also applying. So you don't underrate yourself, you don't underscore yourself. So the best thing I would advise is that you just leave the numbers and you ensure that you put forward a very competitive application. Like I mentioned, at least in what's it called, in a cohort, you have a minimum of 13, 13, 14, 15, depending, but you have within that range, and that's huge. And then another thing that I need to add to it is that Erasmus also believe, I mean, AMAS particularly also believes in, many, assorted. Like in Nigeria, we call it assorted. If you go to a cafeteria or you just walk by and they say, give me assorted, what they are saying is, give me different things. All right. So AMAS is not like, oh, it's Nigeria, put all Nigerians in the row. No. They also try to ensure that there is that partial opportunity kind of for people. So you can see someone from Lesotho, someone from Mali, someone from Kenya. At least there's a Kenyan in my group, in my cohort. There's another Kenya in the next cohort. So you have Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. Of course, we are also anticipating to have people from the Lusophone countries like Angola, Mozambique, and then Francophone ones, Cote d'Ivoire, and all those things. So the more people apply that cross board, the more diversity that AMAS want to accommodate. So that's the beauty of it. So you don't know how many people are applying within your region. It's also very important. Yeah.
Great answer right there. So I will go into the sections again. Let me see the comment section. Okay, so this question regards another Erasmus program. Kindly elaborate on the residence certificate or proof of residence. So this is a thing that we have spoken about before on the Kenyan chapter, but this usually the residence certificate, usually the reason why they ask for such a certificate is because some of the programs, they actually think the European way, because when you come to Europe, you're going to want to need an address, and you're going to have a form of a letter that shows that you live on this building, this apartment, etc. This is not something that usually happens in most African countries. However, for you to be able to have this proof of residence or a residence certificate, one, you can actually go, like, for instance, I'll speak for Kenya, and of course, Odinola, you can speak for Nigeria. Usually in Kenya, you can go to your chief and ask the chief to write a letter saying that they know that you have been living within this address and so on and so forth. And you're definitely going to want to show your ID, and so that they can be able to write this letter for you. This is from a chief. Some of the consortiums may actually accept a letter from your employer showing the address of where you've been working, and you can ask the consortium ahead of time whether a letter from an employer showing the address can suffice in this case. So usually in most cases, you can go to the chief of your area, whether that is within your village. In Kenya, we have villages, and like you go maybe to your I would imagine, depending on the where you are living, of course, but you can look for a chief who can be able to write this letter. They might ask you to write maybe a draft so that they can just go in and sign and stamp it. But this is something that you can do, or ask your employer to give you this letter. However, before you ask for your employer, ask the consortium whether this is something that they can use, as opposed to going to the chief, of course. But in Kenya, this is what you can do. I don't know for Nigeria what you guys you usually do.
Yeah, so in this regard, like Indut has mentioned, they want to know where you reside particularly. So, and also it's also program specific. So you need to also find out what each program is saying about proof of residence or residence permit. Now, in Nigeria, it's also, I mean, it's obtainable to get it from a chief of your local government. We have something we call local government. You can also get it from, but to avoid all those things, you can, for him, as let me just be specific, you can get it from your employer, you can get it from your chief, you can get it from your local government chairman, or another thing is that if you are in a house that is paying a bill, and then it is the bill, for instance, electricity bill, and they can see the name. You don't necessarily have to be the one paying it. If your dad is paying it, they can see the name, surname, with your surname that is matching. Of course, I mean, there are ways, to do that. I mean, just ensure that your name shows, and that's what they want to know. The reason is also not to literally say where are you coming from. The reason is also to know with specificity. For instance, I mentioned something about the transport allowance. It is the proof of residence that you give. That is where the starting point for the miles will start counting. So, for instance, if you're in Egypt, you're a Nigerian, you're in Egypt at the point of application, and you say proof of residence Egypt. So they pen it Egypt, irrespective whether you're okay, your nationality Nigerian, current location Egypt. And then in such case, they will just now, okay, from Egypt to this to Porto, how many miles? So even within Nigeria, if you say you are in Yobe, Yobe is up north, and then someone in Cross River, down south. So wherever you are, at that point, that's where they start the mines from. So I mean, it's also another point to also note. So just give an evidence that shows or that carries your name, a bill, NEPA bill, payment, or something that stipulate that you are here or something. So that's all for EMAS.
Yes, fantastic. So, and of course, Oliver, you can definitely ask any other specific question that you might have, but I am sure that the chief can assist you in this case. So we have 10 minutes to go. Okay, fine. So we have just a few more questions. Otunola, thank you so much for staying with us. I really, truly appreciate your time. So now, what is the difference between a written application and a motivation letter or an SOP? In this case, do you mean a standard operating procedure, or what are you trying to say in this
Statement
case?
of purpose.
Will they assign us a topic to write about? I don't know whether this is program specific or is in general basis Oluwasanjo, or what you're trying to say, but the difference between, from my end, the difference between a written application and a motivation letter, or a personal statement, if you may, is of course the fact that some of the consortiums might give you some headlines which you can use for your personal statement, which is very good because now they guide you as to exactly what they want you to answer on that personal statement. However, some of them might just leave it blank, which means that you have to stipulate your letter, and with the stipulations that we said before, have an introduction, quote your experiences as well as the education background that you have, and tie in into that as to the reason why you're the best candidate. Of course, making sure that you're brief enough, you're not using flowery language, etc, etc. So the difference between that written application is, of course, the written application would be, I believe, the application process that you're saying, or I don't know what you're trying to say here, but I do hope that I got the question correctly, but Odunola can assist me here.
Yes, of course. When I mentioned they should go to the website, so this is an evidence that someone has searched the website. It is written there that the written application will take 60%, and so when you hear the written application, what it means is that the application you submitted in totality of what you submit, your what's it called, your transcript, your because if you check the stuff for the selection criteria, you see something like academic performance is 30%, motivation letter is 30%, then extracurricular activities is 30%, then the recommendation is 10%. So those are the things that constitute your written application. So for you to also know that your recommendation carries 10%. And then, very importantly, extracurricular activity. I mean, EMAS is so particular about that, not essentially about your academic excellence, but in what capacity have you acted voluntarily, your leadership capacity, your ability, or whatever you volunteered before, your internship experiences. Those are the things that can also, even not aim as, just generally for applications, those are the things that can also put you, toe to toe in that competition. I guess I've answered that.
Yes, and we will go into the last two questions in the interest of time as well. So we will take the next question, which is, I'll be graduating with a Master's of Sustainable Urban Development in 2 months' time. Can I still go ahead and apply? I think you should be able, if you can be able to get your certificate within those 2 months' time, then definitely is a big yes, because the application for this specific program is 1st of November all the way to January. So I do believe that you have some ample time to just put it in, and as long as you have all the other documents ready, then you should be able to actually put in your application, Brian.
Yeah. And then, or better still, you can use, if your master's is not ready, of course, you can use your undergraduate.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
you should not wait. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the programs actually, I was not very sure whether you're asking about any other program, because some programs usually ask for a master's. Like they would say that the best person at stake who has a master's in this and this and this would be at a better stake, and of course they would be considering the undergraduates and all that kind of thing. So that is also something that you also need to check. Again, eligibility criteria. We cannot overemphasize on you reading the fine print. Like, you got to read the fine print. Don't feel as if it's quite overwhelming. Go through each and every program that you feel that you could be a good candidate. Read through, and of course, ask the things that we said, ask the questions, etc. So that's something that you can do. So some scholarships look for leadership, academic excellence, etc. What does Erasmus mainly look for? Very dependent on the type of program that you're actually applying for. Like Amos, Ojunola said, here is the experiences, the volunteering experiences you've had. What have you done? Not just what is on paper, not just what you achieved in your undergraduate, or maybe you did a diploma, a certificate, or whatever. It's what you have done that is solid, that you have to show that on paper, whether that is something that is sufficing for you to be a good candidate. But for Erasmus, usually is very dependent on a consultant. There's no one general thing that they look at, whether it's leadership, academic excellence, or so on and so forth. So like for Amos, they're looking for that experience that you've had. For another program like engineering, they pretty much just look at what is your undergraduate, what have you been, achieved? Have you studied this and this and this? What is your academic excellence? In fact, some of the consortiums might even look whether you got a first class honor, and they might take more first class honors as opposed to people who've done the undergraduate and got their second class upper division. I don't know whether this is the same in Nigeria, but in Kenya, we have first class honors, and then we have second class upper division, and then we have second class lower division. And Erasmus really does not care about this kind of classes so much. However, some consortiums might give priority to the first class honors. So that is also another important thing. So, Leona, it's very dependent on the program you are interested or in applying. So Erasmus does not have like a blanket thing they look at. Whichever the case, one thing that I can say for sure is the fact that they want to have that sort of European culture going between any partner country or any person who is coming from a different country within the globe. They want to have that solidification of, because when you see all the catalogs, and you check all the programs, you will see European masters in this, European this and this and that. So it's It's usually, most of the masters have a European connotation into it, which means that one, they might want you to just come and benchmark. Some of them might even have a way for you to just come in, do your master's, maybe even continue into your PhD. We do have some of the Kenyan alumni who've gone on after their master's within the same program. They were assimilated into a PhD, and some of them even working in universities as well. And so it really is 100% dependent on what program you are applying for. And Odunola, I know you wanted to say something towards that as well.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, 30% for your grade, 30% for extracurriculum activity, and 30% for motivation, 10% for recommendation. Uh, um, from my experience so far in IMAS, well, not really so much interested about academic excellence. Not that, I mean, when they see your application, they can know
Yeah,
that you have what they want. So
exactly.
it's not just about. Of course, you should have that. I mean, it's non-negotiable. And then I also want to let people also understand that these days, you can imagine as a reviewer, you have someone with a first class, and also with some experiences across boards, volunteering experiences, leadership experiences, or internship, and you have someone who also have a first class or maybe 2-1 and doesn't have any experience, who will you go for? So that's just the question. However, another thing to also know is that they don't expect you to have an internship experience with World Bank or with UN before you could be selected. I mean, whatever experience you have within your local ambit, you should put it there. Just let us know how you've impacted your immediate environment. I mean, that's what MMAS is also about. Of course, we have some of our colleagues that have international experience before, but we still have some of us who didn't have international experience, and then we're still part of the game. So that's the fairness there.
Yes, absolutely. And now let's go on into explain how an applicant can submit his or her reference letter and whether it must come from a lecturer. Is it Oluwa Sanjo again? If it's for this particular program for AMAS, or if it's for any other program, usually for the reference letters, they are going to tell you to stipulate exactly whether it's an academic reference they want. So, which means that it would be from maybe a lecturer. Ensure that this lecturer is somebody who knows you. It's not just any other lecturer that you went and asked to write for your reference letter. It needs to be somebody who knows you. If it's not an academic reference they're asking for, maybe it's your employer, ensure that it is an employer with whom you have a good relationship with. It's not just any other employer that you're going to go for. Maybe it's somebody who supervises your work and you have a good relationship with them and they know you very well. So usually there are different ways of submitting the reference letters. Some of the consortiums will ask, can we have an email of your reference so that we can send them a request telling them that we want a reference letter from them. Some might tell you obtain the letter from your lecturer, employer, whoever it is, and have them sign and all that kind of thing and submit it yourself on the portal. Really dependent. And especially those masters which are beginning in the UK, usually they would ask for an email for them to send a request to this reference person. So what you need to do yourself is to ensure that you alert this person whom you trust, this person who knows you very well, let them know ahead of time that, hey, I am applying for this program. I am going to put you as my reference into this program. So expect that there is going to be an email that is going to come into your inbox so that they can also work on that letter ahead of time so that they can submit it before the deadline. So there's also that fact that, how do you submit it? It's of course telling this person to be alert. And as soon as you send in their, their email as well, they should be able to see that email and respond into it depending on how the consortium wants that reference person to actually send that letter. It could be just sending it on email, it could be just uploading it on the portal. And I'm saying this for programs which I know that are actually beginning in the UK, and this is going to be for a short period of time because Erasmus is going to not have more funding with programs in the UK for obvious reasons, for Brexit reasons. But we do have like programs in starting in Glasgow, in the University of Glasgow. And I know for a fact, because that is the coordinating institution, that they usually ask for this kind of process. However, I don't know about AMAS, whether you just had to obtain this letter from your lecturer or employer and then submit it yourself. But perhaps you can speak into that as well. But again, very, very important. Whoever is going to be your referee needs to be somebody who knows you, needs to be somebody who has a relationship with you. And I mean, some of them might just ask you, hey, just write a draft and I will sign it or stamp it or whatever it is, fine. But let it be somebody who has a good relationship with you, especially if it's a lecturer or somebody within the academic, section or something of the sort. But Odunola, you can speak into that.
Yeah, I guess it has not changed. If I remember how I did my own application, I only had to request the reference letter and submit it on my own. I mean, the application portal is pretty not so difficult. It's pretty much very simple. So you have to just put everything, upload it, and submit.
Yeah, so there are some programs that are a bit different, and I was even emailing that consortium the other day just to see whether they can make things a bit easier. Because as you may know, after Brexit, there's quite a number of things, and even within COVID, which brings me to the next question: does COVID affect movement to different countries, or how has Erasmus handled this situation? The other day, we had a student who was coming from Kenya, and Kenya was already marked as on the red list, and this student is supposed to begin her mobility in the UK, in the University of Glasgow to be specific. And the thing is, one, if she was to travel to the UK, first is to get the visa, which took quite a long time before the embassy in Kenya could process. At the same time, she actually had to pay for quarantine fees when she got into the UK, which was quite a lot of money for her because this is something that she ought to have paid first before she can begin her studies. And also, there was something that she had to pay called the health surcharge, which was coming to about £2,500. And I mean, of course, due to the fact that the now we have Brexit, we have all these kind of things, the European Union and the UK really are not, in congruence in terms of before we would have like the students just going to the UK using the same maybe insurance, medical insurance, and that kind of thing, and using it across the board as they go into other European countries. But now things have changed quite a lot. And so these are costs that you would expect. I mean, the good thing about this is that this student, it took a bit like a week or so, and now Kenya is on the amber list. The student had to begin her studies online. So there's also that fact. The fact that, COVID is still here, of course, and if you are accepted into the program and cannot travel promptly for one reason or another, you can write to the consortium and tell them, hey, I am having delays coming from my country into country A, B, C, D, E. Can I begin my studies online? And this is something that they accept, especially because of the issues that are going on right now. We have quite a lot of things that we're handling on the back end with Erasmus, of course, in different consortiums, and they're trying their best to make sure that the experience, the travel experience, the the settling experience is much better. I know that some of the students, and I know Odunola included here, when you traveled last year, you had to take some classes. As much as you're in Porto, you would take the classes online at home just because of the COVID restrictions and that kind of thing. So the COVID restrictions in different countries would, mean different structures. However, Erasmus is trying their best to make sure that things are running smoothly, as smooth as possible, What I would say is very stringent right now is moving from the UK into the European Union, because again you would need a new visa to come into the European Union, because you would need a Schengen visa, which of course might take a little bit of a process right there. So we are trying our best, and over time you may have already read on the news that Erasmus might not be participating. The UK might not be participating in Erasmus in the coming years, but those programs that are already within the funding period will continue until they finalize. So there's also that part. So yes, COVID has affected movement into different countries and even within the European Union. But again, as we move forward, we hope that things will get better. But the thing about with Erasmus is that there's a provision to study online for some specific courses, just to ensure that you're just within you're studying and you're also within the COVID restrictions or of any different country that you're in. So I hope that makes sense, Leona. And we hope that the situation keeps getting better, of course. And the fact that Erasmus cannot be taken in your African country or in your home country, it is not a distance program. It's not an online distance learning program. You really do have to be in Europe to get to do Erasmus. And that is the spirit that we want to keep on having moving forward. And we keep hoping that things get better. So I hope I have answered your question. And Gidenji Kiama, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. And I hope you are getting some value from this. So Oluwasanju, I hope we answered your question. Final question. So please, is it compulsory for an applicant's CV to be in Europass format? Yes, 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 and yes. We cannot say that enough. Is it original?
It's better to be on the safe side.
Yes.
So if they require for a CV in Europa's format, please try and get it. And it's not something difficult. Just check Europa's CV and you see templates, different templates you can adapt to.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think we have covered all the questions right here, and I want you to just have one final parting shot for someone who is looking to apply for AMAS, for someone who is trying to look to even apply for any other Erasmus program. What would be your parting shot? What is one thing that you can tell this person, moving forward between now and January? What is a thing that you would tell them?
Yeah, I always say something that the gain of winning a scholarship offsets the pain entirely. Yeah, so I have friends and colleagues, and also myself inclusive, applied for scholarships over time, but you only need a yes. And then, like one of my mentors will say, till we all win, you don't stop. So until you get that yes, you keep pushing forward, and always know that put the best foot you have forward, and always know that you are not what's it called? You are not a second fiddle. Believe in yourself and put in that shot. You don't know when it comes back and it gives you the joy. The experiences will tell it off at the end of the day. All right. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Odunola. And if anyone who would like to maybe reach out to you if they're interested in this program, can they do that maybe on your social media or something of the sort?
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm accessible on my social media. Odun Oladeji. Once you press my name, you can see Facebook. I have a lot of messages already that I've been dealing with, and that's what I do every year. Also, yeah, of course. And then also, you can also reach out to the HEMA, the Erasmus Models Association, part of HEMAS. We pretty much are ready to also answer your questions. So our email is emas@em-a.eu. Emas
Can you say
at
that? Amos?
at em/a.eu.
Okay, I'm just going to put that on
em
the comment.
dash em-a, exactly, just like we have Kenya at EMA. Yeah. So once you send your email in there, then we can pick it up from there. If you have any question, you can ask us, and we'll be willing to help you. You can also direct your what's it called question to European Interdisciplinary Master African Studies on Facebook. Once you join, you can send a message in there. Of course, the advantage or privilege is that you'll be speaking directly with the program coordinator. So all your questions will be well answered. Thank you for having me on the platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much once again. And everybody else, thank you for joining this session. It's been a lovely session. And I would like to also encourage you to join either the Erasmus Nigeria page, or you can join the group for Erasmus Kenyan chapter so that you can be able to get all the good value from these groups that we have right there. We are obviously just creating a community. Of course, the Kenyan community is quite young, but the Nigerian community has taken over by storm, I must say. Of course, the fact that they are a bigger country, so we salute them, but we love to just collaborate and just get all the good things going on within the Nigerian community as well. And again, my name is Nduta Wampura. I'm the country representative for Erasmus. So please feel free to reach out to me for any other question that you might have that might not have been covered within this session. I know people always have questions. They want to interact with you, and I'm happy to interact with you anyway. I did my Erasmus already in 2015 to 2017, and I have been a very privileged to actually be able to even stay within the European continent, and I'm happy to pour into someone else to have the same experience that I had, because since that experience happened, my lifetime turned around 360 degree. I keep telling people like my life changed when I actually came and did my Erasmus abroad, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and also to be able to let someone else have the same opportunity is a great and very rewarding thing. So thank you so much, guys, for staying on. And if you're rewatching this after this live session, feel free to join the group. I have sent in the link right there for the Facebook group, or that you can join for the Kenyan chapter. And without further ado, thank you so much. Bye, guys.